The 416 just celebrated its 50th birthday. Happy birthday. Happy 50th birthday, 416. It was designed for tape machines, not for digital clarity. And so let's go back to 1975. Gerald Ford was president. The Vietnam War was ending. People were making phone calls on rotary dial phones. And if you wanted to watch your vacation photos after dinner, you had to go pull out a slide projector and put up like that little tripod-mounted pull-down screen. So the 416 is so old that it just got its AARP card. The 416, but you know what? Here's something good. The 416, I kid, but the 416 just got a price drop, right, to $849. Right? I mean, but I wasn't quite sure if that was the sale price or if it had finally just really qualified for its senior citizen discount. If you had a grandpa that worked in Hollywood in the 1970s, there's a good chance that he used a 416. In between feeding his pet rock and listening to Donna Summer on 8-track. But look, the 416, it is not outdated, all right? It is not outdated. It's just a product of its time. And today's voiceover world demands more precision, more forgiveness of off-axis, really, and more realism than the 416 was ever built to deliver. That's the truth. And the DPA is a product, the 2017 is a product of now. So how do they compare? Let's talk about it.
From the mind of Mark Yoshimoto Nemcoff.
So the 2017 was definitely designed by DPA to go head-to-head against the 416. It has a lot of the same rugged qualities to it, but the sound is quite different. So here, I mean, honestly, look, the 416 has a what you call a baked-in tone, right? I mean, really, it's punchy, it's aggressive, it's forward. It's great when you need to slice through a mix, right? Or you want to sell something with sheer force. But here's the thing, you can't unbake that sound. That's the truth. And with the 2017, and you're listening to both mics going right into the MT48. With the 2017, you get this flat natural response, right? But flat isn't boring, flat is flexible. I honestly think you could EQ a 2017 to sound like a 416, but I don't think you could do it the other way around. The 416 is a preset. It really is. It's a preset, and that's the truth. And hold on. And the 2017, I'm going to try to talk about the mic into the mic that I'm talking about, right? The 2017 is more like a full mixing console. I mean, truthfully, here's my honest personal take. Hold on, let me switch to the 416. When I hear my voice through the 416, I think to myself, that sounds like my voice through a 416. And when I hear my voice through the 2017, I think to myself, that sounds like my voice. Now here, let me just read some copy into it. Let me just compare them head to head. And again, this is with no EQ on it. And I would normally use the 2017 with EQ on it. So let me do it that way, and then I'm going to drop some EQ on the 2017. So 2017 first. Here, no EQ. Now here we go. Voiceover isn't just a job. It's a career that you have to own. Get the Modern Voiceover Career Owner's Manual, the no-fluff, all-action guide to building a VO career that lasts. Gear, gigs, grit. It's all in here. Available now wherever smart voice actors level up. Here we go. Voiceover isn't just a job. It's a career that you have to own. Get the Modern Voiceover Career Owner's Manual, the no-fluff, all-action guide to building a VO career that lasts. Gear, gigs, grit. It's all in here. Available now wherever smart voice actors level up. All right, now let me put some EQ on. Here, let me show you actually what I'm doing. Oh, both mics on. Let me show you what I'm doing here. Okay, let me switch this shot. Okay, there you go. So let's switch over back to the, here's the 2017. As you can see, there's no EQ on it. But this is the EQ I like on it. This is what I like using on this. I think this really works. Sometimes I like to take a little bit off on the bottom end, right? Well, let's leave that in there. So that's actually a low shelf at 150. And then I have these little spots here at 3.2K, and then 6.8, and a little lift at 13.9 to give it a little air. Now you don't necessarily need that so much, but I like it with a little bit of air on it. Probably roll that back just a little bit right there. And this is the sound I like to use for work. This is the sound I've been using on commercials and stuff. So let's, here, let me cut this. Let me recut this spot here. Voiceover isn't just a job. It's a career that you have to own. Get the Modern Voiceover Career Owner's Manual, the no-fluff all-action guide to building a VO career that lasts. Gear, gigs, grit. It's all in here. Available now wherever smart voice actors level up. So let's go back to the 416. So here's the 416 again. So voiceover isn't just a job. It's a career that you have to own. Get the Modern Voiceover Career Owner's Manual, the no-fluff all-action guide to building a VO career that lasts. Gear, gigs, grit. It's all in here. Available now wherever smart voice actors level up. So that is the 416. And sometimes I do like to put a little EQ on the 416. Sometimes I like this because it kind of makes it pop a little bit more. What this is just a little peak at 419, a peak at 3.0, and a little lift at 12.6 just to give it a little bit more sparkle up top. But in general, it kind of doesn't need it. But sometimes I feel like it does, especially if you're doing if you're doing heavy promo stuff that is going to go against something really thick. Like if you're doing a commercial spot for some death metal band, you want a little bit of extra cut in there. But in general, I mean, look, it's a great pre-EQ'd sound on it. So, but let's talk about this sound. Let's talk about the 416, right? I mean, again, it has a signature sound all of its own that I think that people recognize, right? As an industry standard, it's a sound that people like. It's a sound that people are used to hearing, are used to using. But these are the things about the 416 that I think are assets and also liabilities. Because when you talk into the 416, it really is kind of like I wouldn't call it a one-trick pony. I would call it like a three-trick pony. In general. And I think that the 2017 is a lot more versatile. I think it really does. I think you can cover a lot more ground with it. Here, let me take this EQ out. Let's go back to the main shot. All right, so in general, right, I think there's that. I think there's also this off-axis sweet spot. I mean, is so much bigger with the 2017, so much more forgiving. And that's the other thing about using the 416 that is kind of, sometimes right here, right? The off-axis sound of the 416, sometimes it's difficult to really match what you're trying to do. If you go out of the sweet spot, it changes the tone dramatically. And one of the things I noticed, one of the things that really aggravated me with the 416 was that back when I was using it every day, when you'd cut a car spot with it. And then you'd cut the main spot and the spot doesn't change, but the offer does. Lease a brand new Honda Accord LX for $219 a month for 36 months, right? That changes from month to month. And then when the client comes back to you and says, can you cut a new donut for it? And then, it's 2 months later or a month later. And I don't exactly remember how far away I was from the mic when I did it. And then I'm trying to match the tone. It was it would take me a lot longer than I really thought was necessary to try to do that. That was aggravating. But I find that with the 2017, the sweet spot is so beautiful that I'm able to, now I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about it. The 416 is really, it's too tight. It's maybe a little bit too tight. I mean, look, the rejection is great, but I think the sweet spot is too small. And it's okay when you're in a booth, but especially when you're emoting, I feel like sometimes you move around, you move your head, and that I don't want that to change the overall intent of it. I want to stay in the zone. I want to keep sounding like me. It's not about rejecting noise, right? It's more about preserving your voice. It's even when you're not locked in, you got your head locked into a voice. Overall, right? I mean, the 416 is great, but the 416 is a hammer. It truly is. And hold on. It has this quality. It punches, it dominates, but sometimes you don't want to punch, right? Sometimes you want to whisper. Sometimes you want to cry. Sometimes you want to unravel. And that's where I think the 2017 shines. I think it's a scalpel, not a hammer. Overall, I'm really pleased with the way it reveals nuance. It reveals emotion, and most importantly, it reveals intention. And intention is everything. I mean, really making that connection with the listener really is born in the crucible of intention. Because in my book, I talk about how important it is to assign meaning to your performance, even if nobody else does. Because as the moment you feel something, right, and you give it meaning, you're allowing the audience to feel something and give it meaning too, because even if they can't explain why they feel it because you feel it, right? I mean, and that to me is really having a more emotive capture. I feel it is really very important to me. The 2017 preserves that. Since here I'm talking in the 416. Since switching to the 2017, I've noticed something. It's like I'm spending less time futzing with the sound. I'm spending more time performing. I don't have to fix it afterwards in the mix, right? Or in post. I don't have to do anything. There's less sibilance. It's more efficient, right? And I think that creates more freedom. And that's important to me. So if you have a 416, I'm not saying get rid of it. If it's getting you where you want to go, if you are achieving everything you want to achieve with the 416, stick with it. Hold on to it with both hands and never let it go. Because that's what you want. The 416, if you have it, you have what everyone else already has. And that to me is also another problem, right? Because if you want to sound more like you want to differentiate yourself from everyone else, having the same sonic hyped sound signature on your work, to me is not really as, I feel like that's a detriment. I think the 2017, it may not be a mic that clients recognize when they hear it. They're going to hear it and they're going to think to themselves, wait, that's not a 416, but what are you using? Because it sounds amazing. And that's really the key here, right? I mean, look, industry standards are established so that people who are not savvy enough to understand how to capture the correct type of signal, have a shortcut, have an idea, have a list of what equipment to use to capture an industry-worthy, a broadcast quality signal. And that's why industry standards in voiceover exist, really. It's not because you'll have to have a uniform sound, but that's really the barrier for entry, what they expect of you. And it makes it easier if they say, use this mic. And so that's why these mics become standards. And so, look, the 416 is a legend, no doubt. Absolutely no doubt. But legends, they were built for their time, not ours. So I'm not telling you to retire your 416. It's a classic. It still works. It works great. It still books jobs. But if you're ready to stop chasing someone else's sound and sound like you, take a look at the 2017. Because, maybe it's time to use a mic designed for clarity. Not because the 416 is wrong, but because the 2017 is right for right now. If you go and you look at the forums where people post about shotgun mics, most of the posts online about shotgun mics, like the 2017 or the 416, are from location recordists, people who hang the mic off of a boom pole or strap it to a camera, like the way it was really intended to be used. If you read those forums, you will see that there are still a lot of people who use the 416, but there are quite a lot of those people who use the 416 as a backup. A lot of those people are using the DPA, they're using the Sheps, they're using the Neumann, they're using more modern microphones. That's their preference. And the 416 is there in case of emergency break glass. The 416 will work in like any environment. It's a great fallback if the mic that you want to use doesn't work in that location environment, the 416 will. And that's what you see when you read a lot of these posts from these guys, is that, it's like, the preference is a more modern mic. And then, if all else fails, use the 416. The 416 is a rugged microphone that will probably celebrate its 100th birthday someday, if we're still using microphones in 50 years. But I got to tell you, the 2017 is now. That's the way I feel. And I know that there are going to be some of you out there, the 416 fans out there. Whenever I talk smack about the 416, people are always coming to defend it. So please come to defend it. I want you to defend it. I want you to be passionate about the microphones you use. But ultimately, the 2017 is a more versatile mic. The 2017, I think, can cover more ground. The 416, it's great, again, for commercials, promo, trailer, but you wouldn't want to do character stuff into it. You wouldn't want to do audiobook stuff into it. It's a little too fatiguing for that. It's not quite there for character stuff right there. It's nice, but it's not quite there. It doesn't quite have the nuance that the 2017 has. And that's what I love about it.
It's pretty great with character stuff. Well, the 416, it has its merits, but I don't know if I would use it for character stuff. But I would certainly use the 2017.
And that's the thing. You can cover more territory with it. And, that's really a valuable asset. That's really a big check in the plus column for the 2017. That is it. I think it's a much more versatile microphone. But I want to know what you think, especially you 416 users out there. Great mic. And again, happy 50th birthday to the 416. And, the young blood on the block, the old grizzled veteran and the young blood. And, I think the other thing, too, is the 416. I think they were both named after the year that they were designed. So, but I love these mics, and I want to know what you're thinking. All right? So you know what to do. Leave a comment. And until next time, this is Mark Yoshimoto Nemkov, fading to black.